Hey, what's going on, everyone? So I got a flat tire on my Varla Eagle One scooter. Now this is partially my fault because I probably had the tire pressure too low, and I've been pushing this thing to the max, jumping it off of curbs, sidewalks, going up through the back roads, up some crazy steep hills if you guys see my last video. Long story short, I got a flat tire, so I'm going to be changing it here today. I'm going to either change the tube or patch it. I'm going to show you guys how I take it apart, how I fix it, and put it back together. Now I'm no professional mechanic, so take these directions as you will, but I just wanted to show you guys my experiences with fixing it in case you needed to fix one on your scooter. Now this scooter has a two-piece rim, which means you have to take the rim apart to get the tire off and the tube off. So I haven't had this apart yet, so this is going to be a learning experience for me as well. I might take this whole arm off because Varla does have a nice video on how to do this on their YouTube, although there's no voice or anything. So I'm hoping that this one might be a little bit more helpful for you. But that's one nice thing about Varla, is they do have a lot of instruction videos on YouTube itself just to show you how to do some of this stuff. All right, so the first thing I want to do is remove this rear fender by taking these 4 screws out here, just to make it easier. Now you may be able to do this a different way than what I'm going to do it, but I'm going to follow the instructions from the Varla website. You may not have to remove this arm. You could probably just pull this back tire off and just give you some length on this wire here, on your motor wire, and then that would, you should be able to change it that way. But I'm going to just remove this whole arm for 2 reasons. I'm going to see if maybe I could find a way to put this wire up over top of here instead of underneath. That's one design flaw that I think they should have done differently, was route this up over here, because if you go up over something like a curb or something, it could pinch that wire between here and potentially shear it off. So I would like to see that wire up over top of here instead of underneath. So now once I got the fender off, I'm going to remove these 2 caps here. And so I'm going to loosen these 2 axle nuts. It is a 21 millimeter. So I got both of those loose. Then I'm going to loosen this bolt here. This one is a 19 millimeter. I'm actually going to remove this bolt completely, this nut. And then what I'm going to do is remove these far enough to take these washers off that prevent your axle from sliding out. Then I'm going to go ahead and pop the back wheel out of here. Then I'm going to remove this from this side of the, I need something to put this on. All right, let's try this again. Then I can remove this by just wiggling it off of here. So I think what I'm going to do is pry this motor wire clamp back a little bit so that I can get it up off of there. That'll give me a little extra play. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these clamps, loosen them up, and spin them out of the way. And I'm going to see if I can get this motor wire to potentially come up over top. All right, I'm just going to remove that whole thing for now. That'll make it a lot easier and a lot more room to work on this wheel. So I'm going to take this nut all the way off of here on this side, on the rotor side. Remember which way this goes back on. Going to take these 2 washers off. Make sure you remember how many washers were on this side, because those will go on the inside, and that's what will space your motor over for your brake caliper. So you don't want to get these mixed up. And then we're going to take off the rotor, and that's going to be a 4 millimeter. All right guys, so these are a little harder to get out than I thought. You want to definitely make sure you do not strip these. I was using this tool from Verbrelli. It's a nice, awesome, real well heavy-duty built tool. However, it was a little easier with a socket that I had. I'm going to use a socket, and I'm going to tap it in to make sure it goes in all the way, because I want to make sure that tool gets seated in there all the way for less chance of stripping it out, because these are Loctited in there. And I'm on my last one here, but they were a little bit difficult to get loose. Oh, see, that one's stripping. That one's stripping out. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get that one out. That's gonna really suck. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get this one, guys. Nope, it's stripped out. Oh man, the last one. Now what? All right, guys, so I pounded a T27 star bit into here, and I'm hoping that this is gonna, it's in there pretty tight. I'm hoping this is gonna allow me to loosen it. Oh, yes, got it. So now let me see if I can get this out of here before I take that out. All right, I got it. So if you strip one of yours out, you may be able to pound in a T27, and it might give you just enough grab to get it out of there. Thank God I got that out. And you'll notice on the rotor there's a directional arrow. You want to make sure that that's going the right way when you reinstall this. So this arrow is going to be pointing down, facing the rim. Now you want to take out these Allen screws here, all the way around, and that's going to be a 4mm as well. You don't want to take these small ones out. If you take these small ones out, that's going to open up your electric motor there. You don't want to do that. And guys, even though Varla gives you a free multi-tool for your scooter, for most things it's okay, but the quality is just not that great on it, and you risk stripping your screws out. Even with the good quality one, you've seen I stripped the one out, but this is really nice. A really nice tool from Vibrelli. It's stainless and aluminum sides, and it has a chain breaker, some spoke tensioners, even though you wouldn't need it on this scooter, of course, screwdrivers and things like that. So this is a really nice tool. I'll leave a link down below if you guys are interested in picking one up, but it's really nice quality, and you don't risk stripping your bolts out as easily as if you were to use a cheap tool. And I'll also put down below links to any other items that I use here, like my cordless tire inflator. If I could find the tubes, I might put a link to those. Yeah, these are pretty tight as well. All right, so we're on our last bolt here, and once you remove these bolts, these outside bolts, it's going to allow you to separate your rim into two pieces, and it's going to allow your tire to come off very easily. So first thing I'm going to do is make sure the valve stem cap's removed. And I'm going to separate the rim here. So there's the outside of the rim, and then you can pull the tire right off the rim and pull the tube valve stem right out of the hole of the rim. And there you go. There's your motor and tube and tire. So now we can take the tube out, put a little air to it, and see what kind of hole it has, and then I'll decide if I'm going to patch it or if I'm going to put the new tube in. All right, so I'm going to put a little bit of air to this. This is with the Tack Life cordless tire inflator. I'll leave a link to it below as well. And it's a very, very slow leak. I was able to air it up and ride with it for at least 10 to 15 miles before having to put more air in. I think this is one of the holes right here. So there's a very, very small pinhole. I can barely even tell it's there. I can feel it when it's up to my face. So if you put it up to your face, sometimes you could feel the air leaking out. You could dip this in like water and see it bubbling. That's another way to find a leak. It looks like there's almost another leak right here. Another hole almost. This tube's a 10x2 to 2.125 is the size of this tube that comes in the Varla from the factory. So I'm going to check the inside of the tire real good, make sure there's nothing sticking in there. All right, guys, so being that this hole is real close to these little ribs right here, I'm going to just go ahead and throw in the new tube that Varla gives you with the scooter whenever you buy it new. So we're going to just take this valve stem off here. I checked over the tire really good inside, and basically what I think happened was I didn't have the pressure high enough in the tires. To be honest, it's my fault. I didn't really check it before each ride, and I think for me jumping and everything, it caused a pinch flat. It pinched the tube from me jumping off them real big curbs and stuff like that. Now this tire is directional as well. There's an arrow on it, so you want to make sure it goes back on the correct way. So we're going to go ahead, throw the tube in the tire first, and then add just a slight little bit of air so that it gives it some shape. Not a whole lot, just enough to give it a little bit of form factor inside the rim, or inside the tire there. That's probably good. And then you're going to fish it back down through the hole of the rim. Then we're going to put the other half of the rim back on and put all the bolts back in. All right, now it's time to put your rotor on. And when you're installing your rotor, you want to make sure you don't get any oils or grease on here, and you want to make sure you clean it really well with like 100% rubbing alcohol, maybe like a brake cleaner or something. But you want to make sure there's no oils on there, because those oils will get into your brake pads and then limit you from being able to stop. All right, guys, you can see here how I routed the wire up over this and into there now so that it doesn't hang down underneath. That took me a little extra time. I got everything tightened up. Now I'm going to put about 35 pounds of air in the tire, and then I'm going to mount the fender back on. And the brakes are fine, they're not rubbing anywhere, so they should be good. And we'll get this thing back in action. All right, guys, so I got to put back together. I hope you guys enjoyed this or learned something. It was a little bit more difficult than I thought it was going to be, only because I ran into a few issues with the bolts stripping out the one bolt on the rotor. That was a little bit unfortunate, but just be careful, guys, if you end up trying this yourself. Like I said, as a disclaimer, I'm not a bike mechanic, so do these modifications and fixes at your own risk. So we're going to be ready to get out and go riding. We're going to put this thing through some more testing, and hopefully you guys stick around and want to see that. If so, please hit that subscribe button and that bell so you get notified of my next videos, and I will see you guys around on the next one. Thanks for watching. Don't forget the links are in the description for some of these tools and stuff that I used here today, and I will see you guys around on the next one. Thanks for watching.